She gets her normal spot. Wait. Go ahead, sweetie. Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, so you work with her, huh? You work with Susan.
I don't know anybody.
I want to thank you for your patience with our cameras. We're having some technical trouble, but we just came in time because we're going to start story time for Santa right now. We'll get back to get you busy, okay? Are you guys ready for story time? All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming out Santa Day last row every Tuesday. We always have story time with Santa all the way through Christmas. So thank you all for coming. Are you guys ready for a story? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and squirrels, today is a very what? I said squirrels, right? Yeah. What? Oh, girls! But I said squirrels, didn't I? I'll do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and squirrels. My name is Santa Claus, and I'm going to tell you a very special story. This story, I want to tell you, is not in any book, or not in any movie. This story you can only hear directly from Santa Claus himself. And that's the story I'm going to tell you today. This story started a long, long time ago, thousands of years ago to be exact. You see, it's when I always start my idea of being a toy maker. My father was a carpenter and made things out of point machines. And we used to live in a small little town called Myra. And that's in eastern New York area. And I grew up there as a young boy, learning from my father how to make toys. Because he used to make furniture and all sorts of things out of wood. But I told him I want to make toys. So we started fiddling around with the wood and fiddling around with some tools. And I learned how to make some of the best toys in the world. In fact, I became known in town as one of the greatest toy makers in all of Myra and later throughout Europe. And I became famous making these toys. And one day, the local school teacher, her name was Jessica, she came up to me, and I was a young man then. I was only about 20 years old. I was just starting off as a good toy maker. and I became known as a great toy maker. Jessica came up to me and she said, Santa Claus, I was wondering if you could make toys for all my students in the school. And I said, I think I can. I've been making toys for all the boys in the village and girls, and I think we can make maybe some toys for your class. So you know what happened? I made all the boys and girls with nice dolls and cars and toys, and everyone loved the toys so much. And Jessica was so happy. Do you know what happened? Jessica came up to me and he said, you're a really nice man, Santa Claus. I would like to go on a date with you. And I said, really? And I was 20 years old at the time. I said, okay, I'll go on a date with Jessica. And you know what I did? I took her out for a soda pop, you know, a Coca-Cola, and a slice of pizza. Because pizza was very popular there in the town of Byron. And we had a nice little pizza, and I had a little bowl of spaghetti with some meatballs. And we ended up having a really lovely dinner. And you know what Jessica told me? She said she really loved how I made toys for the boys and girls. She wanted to know if we could go on another date. And we went on many dates for many years. And one day, I decided to go to Jessica, and I got my mother's ring. And I actually asked Jessica if she would like to get married. So I took her out on a very special dinner, and I took her to our favorite restaurant, you know. And I told her that I was really in love with her, and I was hoping that she would marry me one day. You know what she said? She said yes. So I was about 25 years old then, and we got married. And we were so happy because she was the best ever. And I said, from now on, Jessica, I'm Santa Claus, and you're now known as Mrs. Claus. And she was so happy because now everybody knows her as Mrs. Claus. Well, guess what? Mrs. Claus was really good at baking cookies. So she started baking cookies for all the kids that I would make toys for. And I love a good cookie, you know. And she made some pies and really yummy things, you know. And one day, I told Jessica, or I should say Mrs. Claus, I said, you know, this is really nice how we make toys for the boys and girls. I think it would be nice if we take this and we move and retire to somewhere nice and cold in the snow. You know where I decided to go? I decided to go to the North Pole. How would I find this place, I said. How do I know where the North Pole is? So you know what I did? I got myself a compass. Does anyone know what a compass is? A compass is a little round device that points to where? North, south, east, and west. But it always points to the north. So I was thinking, this is the way I'll find the North Pole. So I got together my sleigh. Now, I must tell you at this time, my sleigh did not fly. It went on the snow. You understand? And we didn't have 8 or 9 reindeer at that time. I think if I remember correctly, we had 6, 7 reindeer. 6, 7. 6, 7. You know? What do you do with 6, 7? 6, 7. So let me tell you, we got our reindeer together, all 6, 7. up to this very flat area for a long time, and I was traveling with my compass pointing due north. And all of a sudden, I came across some very tall trees. And I got the sleigh together, and I looked at my compass. And the compass started spinning in circles. Do you know why it was spinning in circles? Does anybody know? It's because we have landed exactly at the North Pole. You see, when you're at the North Pole, the compass always points north. But north was everywhere because we were at the North Pole. So the compass spun in circles because that's exactly where the North Pole is, you see. So I got together with Mrs. Claus and we sat down and we said, this is where I will build my palace, my castle, my home. But I looked around and I saw these tall trees and they started to shake and they started to dance. Have you ever seen a dancing Christmas tree, boys and girls? Well, let me tell you, neither had we. But you know what happened? I learned that they weren't just dancing. It was where the elves lived. You see, the elves used to live inside the trees. Did you know that? They lived in trees, and that was their home. So I called all the elves in the village to come around, and I said, hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. And they had these little pointy ears, you know. And they were really small, about this size. And they were wearing funny clothes. Little funny hats and little boots. And I went up to them and I said, who's the head elf here? And one of the elves came up, I'm the head elf. My name is Legolas. Everyone say Legolas. And I said, Legolas, what are you doing here in the North Pole? And you know what he told me? He told me they were cobblers. Does anyone here know what a cobbler is? And I don't mean a peach cobbler, although a peach cobbler sounds good about now. You know, Mrs. Claus makes a good peach cobbler. That makes me hungry. But no, I was talking about the elves. The elves were cobblers. A cobbler is an old way to say shoemaker. You see, the elves were the first shoemakers. And they used to make shoes for the boys and girls all around the villages. And they would deliver every Christmas a brand new pair of shoes for all the boys and girls and put little gold coins in them. Did you know that? That's the original story. But I told the elves, I said, you're all good shoemakers, and I'm a toy maker. And I can teach you all how to make toys, and you can help me build toys for the boys and girls all around the world, if you like. And you know what they said? They said yes. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have Mrs. Claus make some cookies, but very special cookies. Gingerbread cookies, and make peppermint sticks and gumdrops. And you know what we did? We built little houses for all those little elves all around. Have you boys and girls ever seen a gingerbread house? Those were the first gingerbread houses we ever made. You see what happens is, in the North Pole, it gets so cold that the gingerbread cookie turns as hard as a brick. Yes. So I came up with the idea we could make homes out of them. The first time we made these gingerbread cookies, the elves thought they were cookies they could eat. And they started eating the gumdrops. And I said, no, gumdrops. These are your homes, you see. Those are just decorations. So we built the elves beautiful gingerbread houses all around the village. And in the center of the village, a very large lake where the elves would always like to ice skate. And I built my toy factory there. And we started building toys for all the boys and girls. Back then I was about 60, 70 years old, I think. 67 years old. 67. 67. And what happened was, we were getting old, making all these toys. So I went up to Mrs. Claus. I said, I don't know how much longer I could make these toys for all these boys and girls. We only have 6 or 7 reindeer, and we can't get around all the world with this thing. You know what I did? I looked up at the sky, and I saw a big star, a shooting star, but bigger than the whole sky. So Mrs. Claus and I, we held hands, and I made a wish. I said, I wish I may, I wish I might, have this night last for many nights. Have the wish of living forever and making toys for boys and girls for all of time. So do you know what happened? All of a sudden I saw the star, and it started getting bigger and bigger until I saw it come right down upon the earth. And it ended up becoming the Blue Fairy. You know about the Blue Fairy? The Blue Fairy came up to me and she said, Santa Claus, we heard your wish, and we know that you are a good man, and we love your wife, Mrs. Claus, and all your good elves. So we want to give you a very special wish. Here's the wish. We know you're about 67 years old right now, and you're getting old. But from this day forth, you will no longer age. You will stay the age you are today for the rest of your life. Is that good? I only wish I made the wish 30 years earlier. I would have been a much younger man then. But nevertheless, I ended up being 67 for the rest of my life. So here's what happened. She made me the wish, and Mrs. Claus and I no longer got older, and we were able to make toys for many, many years. But the Blue Fairy also gave us another wish. She saw that we only had 6, 7 reindeer. You know? 6, 7. Yeah, exactly. That's not enough. You know what they did? They gave us extra reindeer. We had Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. So no longer did we have 6, 7 reindeer. We now have 8 reindeer. That's right. So I said, thank you so much, Blue Fairy. But she said, we're not done yet. And she got in a little pouch, and she showed us some sparkling dust. And she said, this is magic dust. Take this magic dust and sprinkle it on all your reindeer. And every time your reindeer think of happy thoughts, they will now not crawl and walk on the snow, but they will be able to fly to the sky. I said, we're going to have flying reindeer. And she said, yes. So we sprinkled all the dust on top of the reindeer. And we saw the reindeer starting to jump and starting to slowly fly. And we got the sleigh together, got this reindeer and his flying reindeer. And our Mrs. Claus and I built our workshop in the North Pole, and we're still there today, living forever, making toys for all the boys and girls every Christmas. Thank you all for coming. Story about this Saturday. You never knew that story, did you? That story's not in any book. That story's not in any movie. You can only hear that story directly from Santa Claus. Thank you all for coming. We'll take pictures with everyone. Thank you all for coming, everyone. You like that story? I know, you would admire them. Big live fish. Merry Christmas. You like my story? Thank you all. Everybody get one to take pictures. You like that story? It's a really